Alrighty then. So you wanted to do some VOD reviews.
Yes.
Alrighty. You have the account that you wanted me to look at those on, or
Yep.
I can download those as well, unless they're older.
No, it's right there.
Alrighty. What was the account name?
I sent it to you on the thing, the chat.
Okay. And which games were it?
14, 11, 6 Wukong loss.
14, 11, and 6. And the other one was that just the only one?
I only booked for an hour, so I only got one replay.
Okay. It's fine.
If you have time, or we end up having time for something else, you can look at my most recent victory, see if I've done anything wrong in a match where I've gotten really fed.
Okay, I'll see. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Already. So what do you feel more or less happened this game? Do you think it was your team's fault? You just didn't know what was going on? There was enemy team just scaled too hard?
Honestly, I like the what's it called? The Lee Sin gets extremely fed extremely quickly this game, and that's where I think the primary downfall is. And Callan gets fed off that. I believe Pike gets fed as well. So I think kind of my lanes messed up a little bit, but I feel a little bit to blame because I didn't put enough pressure or didn't know how to put enough pressure. So I kind of feel like it was a team loss.
Okay. So right there, just because I know he actually gets the kill here, when you see him in the river, right here, you can see that he's actually a half health. You take this, you have your E, your Q, you have Thunderlords. Why didn't you go on him at this point to put him behind?
I didn't think I can duel him if Talon decided to back him up.
Because you're probably actually could probably kill him if you just EQ auto him and get the Thunderlords proc. Does he have Thunderlords as well? Yeah, he has Thunderlords as well. The most he's probably going to do, he either has W or he has E. You don't know because you didn't see him do his Raptors camp, so you don't know if he took his E second or his W. But even with his double Q and his E, he still shouldn't be able to kill you before you kill him with your EQ auto, because you're going to get bonus attack speed from your E. He gets slightly faster attack speed with his abilities, but most likely he's not going to do it properly, and he's probably just going to QQE you and then start autoing you, which he only gets 2 bonus attack. If he really wanted to kill you, the only way he could possibly kill you and hope to not die is if he Q auto Q E auto you. That's the only way he could possibly actually kill you, is if he comboed correctly. This is a silver game. Most of the time, if you're just a point and click burst champion, you're going to end up being able to kill the enemy laner or the enemy jungler, especially since you're full health, you're full mana. That's one thing you could have done here, is that you could have gone on him and killed him, and that just has to has to go with knowing your damage. Any champion you play, you need to know the damage of the champion you're playing and whether or not you can kill someone or if they're going to kill you first. That allows you to make a lot more better decisions on when to go into a team fight, when to engage on a champion, etc., etc. Yeah, he gets the kill there. Why didn't you go top here at all? You're still full health. He's in a minion wave. I don't know if you can see this, but he has 1, 2, 3 minions here, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casters. These probably aren't going to hit you if you're over here as much as these are going to hit you here. So actually, let me take here. Actually, right here. What's going on is he's right here. The range that these can actually fire is actually going to be about right here. So where Nasus is standing, if he's fighting this Lee Sin, there's no way these casters are going to attack the Nasus. But all of these right here are attacking the Lee Sin. As you can see, all these are attacking Lee Sin, which means he's going to actually take a decent amount of damage here. You already knew when he hit here that Lee Sin was going topside. I don't think you saw him on the ward. At that point, you were actually about right here, and he was here. So by the time you got here, most likely what would have happened, I mean, I'll see what happens when it plays out. Most likely the Nasus is going to be around this area. Lee Sin's going to kill him there, and then he's probably going to try to farm these. Okay, this wave is way over here. He's on your side of the map. If he tries to fight you here, which he's already going to be lower than you because he's been fighting the Nasus, he's taking all this damage from the casters. Your minion wave, which is right here, is way closer than his minion wave. So if he tries to fight you in your minion wave, you'll kill him, especially since he just burst Thunderlords on the Nasus. So he doesn't have any of the burst damage of Thunderlords that you're going to have with your combo when you go to kill him. This would have been really good to go on here, just especially someone like a Lee Sin or an Elise or any early game junglers. You need to make sure that whenever they go to gank a lane, that if you're on that side of the map, that you immediately head to that side and try to kill them or try to help that laner out as fast as possible.
All right.
Actually want to see. Nasus didn't even hit him the whole time. Look how much damage he's taking from the casters, though. He has full
Okay.
health, and he lost that much health from the casters. Here, you're just wasting time. There's nothing for you to do here. You should have done your Raptors instead of sitting here. There's nothing you can do for this lane, unless the Talon reads for the Annie, in which case she should just be able to kill him there. And he even disappeared from your vision right here. You should be able to really see him more or less. Still no reason you should be sitting there. Your Raptors were up. He did take your red buff, but your Raptors were up that whole time.
So for routing, just on the topic of routing, do you think I should go for like a full clear a few times like over? Every time I back I go for a full clear, or like what should I do for routing on one time?
All right. So the main jungle route for this one would have been, you're going to start at your blue, obviously. So from here, you're going to go here, take your take your blue buff. After you've taken your blue buff, you actually should be heading to wolves. Once you've taken your wolves, you'll head top. You'll take this scuttle crab here. The reason you're going to take this scuttle crab here is most likely this jungler is going to start at the red buff with his ADC and support, and then either go to his raptors and clear his raptors, or he's going to go to the scuttle crab and try to clear this scuttle crab there. Especially in an early game jungler, you don't want to more or less contest this, because if he was smart and hadn't done raptors and had just sat in this bush right here and waited for you to come down to him, he would have been able to kill you, because you were low from doing both your blue and the Gromp, and then coming here and then doing the scuttle crab. If he had engaged on you before you had been able to take the scuttle crab, and he had smited the scuttle crab, there's no way you would have been able to kill him. He would have killed you straight up. And this actually delayed you a lot more. If you hadn't done it this way, he finished this around that time. You were still finishing the scuttle crab, and then you waited here for a good amount of time before backing. Or actually, you went to your wolves. And during that time that you were doing the scuttle crab, he was ending up here. So what have ended up happening is, by the time he was here to go on the Annie, who is now backing, you would have been crossing over this path. So you would have been able to see him coming. And actually, because the Annie is low and you don't know where the Lee Sin is, you should be placing a ward in this bush right here, just because to make sure that the Lee Sin doesn't come up here to try to kill the Annie with a Q E or like a ward hop or a Q flash or whatever. This is going to give you the scuttle crab up here. Once you get up here and get that scuttle crab, you want to just drop a ward, or while you're doing the scuttle crab, just drop a ward right there. That way you know when the enemy jungler is topside. They can't go through the river. This blasting cone, the blasting cones have been nerfed for early game pressure on the junglers. They wanted to remove that. So now this jungler has to come through here. He's either going to be seen by this ward that's right here, or he's going to be seen by the scuttle crab ward that you have up here now. So now you'll know when the Lee Sin is coming top. You also would have been able to prevent the Lee Sin at this point, doing it this way, because of the pathing he did. You would either have killed him here, or you would have been able to prevent him from taking your red buff, which he stole from you, which would have given you a lot more pressure when he goes to gank top. Or he would have gone into your jungle to try to kill you. Still level 3, you're now level 4, because he hit level 4 off of doing your red buff, and then he went top. You would have been able to kill him if he had invaded on your red buff to try to kill you. And then from there, you could either have done raptors, or actually a better option after, so you would have gone red and you would have gone Krugs, because you know the Lee Sin's top, you know he wants to gank something. Most likely this top laner, this top laner is backed, so your Nasus is low health, just farming up here. You can easily, just when the Lee Sin comes up here to gank the Nasus, now the Nasus can just keep running back to his tower, and you can come up here to prevent the Lee Sin from going onto him and killing him, blocking the Q, whatever you need to do. That's how that would have turned out. You could have killed him here, or you could have killed him here, much easier.
Okay. Just another quick question. Where do I smite if I take this road? Do I smite wolves?
Actually, you are going to smite either one for the reason you smite is for either one of two things. Either you're very low and you're doing a camp and you're smiting it to stay alive, or because you're about to gank and you need the extra health from the camp. The only other reason you would smite is for a smite fight, which basically means that you should place a ward. If you didn't ward over here and you didn't do the scuttle crab, you should place a ward over this wall to make sure that Lee Sin's not invading your red on any invade jungler, whether it's Lee Sin, whether it's Shaco, Nunu, any of those champions, to make sure they're not coming into your red buff to steal that. You would see them coming and you would smite your red. Otherwise, you want to hold your red for when you're doing, maybe your raptors, you're going to get low doing raptors, you're going to get low doing krugs. Just because the camp is so large and there's so much damage that you're going to be taking before the camp is completely killed off. Otherwise, the only camp that you would really do, you would want to focus it on the blue buff if you're an AD champion, or the red buff if you're an AP champion and you're low health. Just because the blue buff takes more damage from AP abilities, and the red buff takes more damage from AD abilities.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. As far as after you've back, so you've done this path, you've done that whole route, cleared almost your whole jungle. Now what you're looking for is this jungler is wherever. Top lane is like this, okay? You just coming back from base. This is what your lanes look like, okay? This lane is either going to look like this because the Nasus is getting pushed in, or it's going to look like this because the Nasus is pushing and the enemy top laner. You should not be pushing the enemy top laner, and you shouldn't have to worry about that. The Nasus should try to keep it here. It's silver, whatever's going on. If there's no ward, and this is how the map looks like, you should clear your Krugs and try to get some vision of the enemy jungle. Because most likely, if it looks like this Lee Sin, who looked like he probably knew what he was doing in this game, would be trying to come up for this Nasus. And you want to be having another ward in this river if this Nasus hasn't done it, to prevent the jungler from being able to just come in for free and kill the Nasus. If your bot lane looks like this, then you need to be heading to your Gromp, and then from there you have the blasting plant. You can blast over and you can kill them here. Now mid lane is going to depend. You have an Annie, so mostly what you would want is for the Talon actually to be slightly pushing the Annie in. It looked like the Annie was actually pushing the Talon in. And you want to have her stun the Talon, so just tell her, planning on ganking mid. You go to your Gromp, you come here. She should now have her 4th charge on her stun. She stuns them. You come in, you kill the mid laner. You need to be paying attention to which lanes have CC. Nasus has CC. I don't remember what your bot lane was, but Nasus has CC, so that's a really easy lane to gank. And Annie has her CC when she has her 4th ability. So whenever she's close to getting her 4th ability up, you want to be pinging that you are available for a gank, and you want to be around mid-side so that you can try to get, if the lane looks like this, just so that you can get a gank on this for killing the Talon before he snowballs.
Okay, if none of the lanes are pushed in, sorry, do I just kind of focus on farming?
If all the lanes were to look like this, so if every one of your lanes is basically pushing in, what your main objective is starting back from base, you should have your Krugs up and your Gromp up. So that leaves you the ability to either go top or to go bot. Now, if there are no wards around these areas, so if the map does not look like this, then you need to be either focused on top. If top doesn't have a ward here, you need to be placing a ward here. If bot doesn't have a ward, you need to be placing a ward here. So the map at all times needs to be looking somewhat like this. You can have both. These can both be green wards if you want. The green ward can be here, wherever. You can have the pink ward here. You can have the pink ward here, here or here. It doesn't really matter, but you need vision on this top area right here, this bottom area here, and these triangle bushes right here. This type of triangle right here. You need to have some type of vision in the river. These wards right here on the red buff are more defensive wards. You're kind of trying to make sure that since the red buff allows for a slow and it gives more damage to enemy champion, you're more or less trying to make sure that they're either not invading you for that buff or that they're not coming out of the jungle with that buff for a fresh gank mid or for, well, mostly for a gank mid or for going into an invade on you. So if there's no ward top, you need to go to your Krugs, place a ward here, and either look for a gank top, look for a gank mid. If there's no gank available, if the enemy jungler is not there, which they probably should be, just back in that bush, and you can just head back bot to your Gromp, unless you have your camp spawning here. So if you had bot and your wolves just respawned, then you would obviously go Gromp. You place the ward, you go to your Gromp, you go to the wolves, then you go to your raptors, then you go to your Krugs, and then you can place a ward here if the ward has expired right here. From there, you'll back. Your blue buff should be about to be respawning. You go to take your blue buff. Whatever Scuttle Crab is about to respawn, you need to focus on that. From there, you should be able to just go to your normal route and get your red again, and basically just be looking for ganks whenever you don't have any camps up. If you don't have a camp, then you need to be looking for a gank. If there's no ganks available, you need to be warding. Any other questions on that type of on the ganking or farming or warding?
One last one. In case I find the enemy jungler on one side of the map, in Wukong, a very like not early game jungler, do I still go for an invade and try to steal a camp or two?
Depending on who the enemy jungler is, if the enemy jungler is someone who has a very strong early game, like the Lee Sin, and you're low health and he's high health, like he has more health than you, he's going to be doing more damage than you, then I would not invade on that. I wouldn't even really try to smite steal it. I'd just ping that he's there and warn your top laner that he might be coming top, or that your mid laner that he is top side. So basically, you just write in chat, enemy jungler top side, blue, and then you just basically ping the lanes. Caution if they're extended. So if the lane looks like this, and you just saw a vision that this enemy jungler is right here, you would ping them that they're over there, and you'd ping them to back up. If they're not there and the buff's not up, whatever, you just leave the jungle unless you have vision that the enemy jungler is down here and his Gromp and wolves are up. The Gromp and wolves are up, you would take obviously the wolves first and then the Gromp, and then leave through the blasting cone if the blasting cone is up. That way he doesn't get either one of these camps at all. And that way he's punished for being bot side at that time. That way basically you can control what the enemy jungler is doing. He's either going to be forced to gank top, in which case you're already top because you just cleared his camps, and now you're going back into your jungle to clear either your raptors or your Krugs, whichever just respawn or whatever is up. And his blue's not up, so he's going top now, so now you can just basically meet him in the river and kill him there, or get your top laner to back up. And this top laner is probably just going to stay here and try to farm, and then you can probably just 1v2. If this top laner comes, obviously, just back off of it if you're going to lose that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to seeing where So yeah, there's two. As you said, you feel like the Lee Sin kind of got fed early. There was two places there where you could have done something to more or less make sure that the Lee Sin wasn't able to get ahead as far as he did. So here, we'll actually play it without bug splatting at that point.
All right. So while it's loading, what do I go for when I back? Like first back, second back.
Okay, your first back is going to depend on how the game is currently playing out. If you are ahead and you've killed the enemy jungler, you're either going to want one of two things. You're either going to want Red Smite and 2 longswords, or you're going to want the Caulfield's Hammer. Against an early jungler like this, you want to get a pink ward as well, so you can ward to figure out more or less where the enemy jungler is, and just to have constant vision on him until takes it out, as I said, in one of these points here where it's basically this area or this area basically controlling this river choke right here, to make sure he doesn't enter your jungle or that he isn't going to try to gank mid lane. Those are the main places that you're going to be trying to pink if it's an early game jungler like the Lee Sin is. Especially on Lee Sin, it would be much better since he already took your red one time. He's going to know the timer of it to place a pink ward in here, just to make sure he's not coming back in to steal your red again. If he is, then you can have your Annie hopefully rotate on it, or you can see whether or not he has his red. If he doesn't have his red and he's going to get your red, then you should know that his red's probably already up and you can just take that for free. And when his red is coming up, you want to try to make sure that you're setting up already for your red and that you're at this side so that he doesn't just go straight from his red to your red and take it again. The only other thing you would build is you would get Skirmisher Saber and Boots, and if you still had some gold left, the Longsword. The reason you're going to get the Skirmisher Saber or the Warrior's Enchantment, or not the Warrior's Enchantment, Skirmisher Saber or the Stalker's Blade, the only reason you would get that and the Boots is because you've been taking his jungle. So if you took his Gromp and his Wolves, you now have timers on those 2 camps there. It's going to tell you when those camps are coming up before it tells the enemy jungler that they're up. And in that way, you can actually, with the earlier boots, you can have more control over the map, and you have more control over how quickly you can get in and out of his jungle, and that's going to allow you to take his jungle a lot faster. Also, I wanted to check. I see you took 2 points into E. You're maxing E first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, E and then Q max. All right. I just wanted to make sure because some people do the Q max and the E max is much better, mostly because of it actually does more damage without bonus AD. So its base AD is much higher, so it's better early game when you don't have as many attack damage items, and it gives you the bonus attack speed, which is much better in a duel and for clearing your camps as well. I don't know what's up with it. It doesn't want me to watch the whole entire game.
Doesn't knows what's coming.
I don't know why it's not letting me watch the whole. But anyways, that's basically how that early game could have gone a lot better. Obviously the Annie got killed early. There you built Titanic Hydra. Why'd you build Titanic Hydra in this game?
I kind of felt the need to get a little bit tankier at the beginning, but also wanted some AD, and the clear was also nice. So that's the reason I took that first.
Okay. If you were that far ahead, it would have been much better not to build a tanky item and to have gone something like either Storm Razor or a Ghost Blade, which would have allowed you to snowball much harder and to do a lot more damage output. The main problem with building tanky items, if you're going to be the carry, is because you have now reduced your damage output by building a Titanic Hydra instead of building a Ghost Blade, which would have allowed you to do a lot more damage. The lethality would have given you a lot more penetration, and it would have been easier for you to kill someone, where the Titanic Hydra would not. As far as that goes, the best build order currently that I feel right now for Wukong, depending on it if you like Storm Razor or not. I personally like the dual burst potential of Duskblade with a Storm Razor. So in my opinion, I personally think that a Warrior's Duskblade, Storm Razor into a Ghost Blade with a GA, and then finishing off with like a Death Dance or some item like that that gives you some type of lifesteal, if it gets that late into the game, would be much better than building some type of tanky item. If you are not doing all that well in the game, the best item you could build that would be tanky would be a Black Cleaver, not Titanic Hydra, because that's still going to give you armor cleave along with attack damage, movement speed, and it's going to give you the health as well. And movement speed is something that Wukong really looks forward to. So next time you're looking for something that's a bit tankier, I would look at a Black Cleaver instead of something like Titanic Hydra.
Okay.
Let me see what lanes you had that game. I don't remember who your bottom was.
Wait 2 seconds, I'm getting a phone call.
It's fine.
Alright, back.
All right. Actually, all of your game, excuse me, all of your lanes in this game could have done fairly well. It doesn't look like any of them really did all that great. Mostly, probably as you said, because of the Lee Sin. If you had gotten onto that Lee Sin a lot earlier into that game, definitely would have changed the way your lanes worked out in there. Also, focusing heavily on ganking, it looked mostly like you were focused more on farm than anything in the early game. Wukong can do a decent amount of damage early with his EQ Thunderlord's proc, especially once he gets Stalker's Blade because he'll slow them as well. All of your lanes have some form of CC, so there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to kill any lane that you go into. Whether it's Nasus's W, Annie's stun, Leona EQ, Jin W, any of those lanes were really good for you to go into and just focus on. Early game, before you hit 6 as Wukong, because you don't have any other type of CC, it's mostly just burst damage. Your best bet for ganking is going to be a lane that has some type of CC. Which is why I said early game you should have been ganking a lot more with your team comp. And that would have also helped your team out a lot more. in that game because, for all I can tell, your 6 assists are from helping Nasus top 6 times. Could have been your laners could have gotten a lot more kills, had a lot more deaths, and gotten a lot more fed if you had been touching their lanes early as the Lee Sin was doing. One thing I want to say to work on is not wasting time. When you saw the Lee Sin was heading mid, you sort of just went bot side over by where the blasting cone spawns, over by the bot side tri bush right behind your ADC's tower. You sort of just sat there for a little bit before going to your wolves and clearing your wolves. It would have been much better to just head straight to your wolves, or just to back if you think the Lee Sin was there. And then from there, you would have been able to just go straight to your red, and he would never have gotten your red there as well. Sitting there, not killing him, both of those things allowed him to take your red, for him to be able to be there to kill the Nasus after he killed the enemy top laner. And these are just some things that you need to look at when you're playing. You need to not waste time just sitting there trying to think of what to do next. You need to get into the habit of, if you're like, okay, while you're doing one camp, you need to be like, okay, from here I'm going to go to this camp. If someone appears that's the enemy jungler, you need to be like, okay, can I kill him or can I not? Is he basically just look at their health? Do they have more health than me, or do they have less health than me? And if they have less health than you, and I mean, Lee Sin was half health, you should be able to kill him before he kills you. Lee Sin is strong early, but Wukong is as well, as far as damage is concerned with their abilities. And you had more health than him, so even if his burst combo does a little more damage than you, you should still have lived with at least 250 HP with you killing him. Any other questions that you have?
Not quite. I mean, I was looking a little bit for a third jungler. My 2 primary junglers right now are Wukong and Evelyn.
Okay.
I was kind of looking for a third jungler. Don't know who to play. Been trying out Pantheon. Hasn't been working out like great.
Have you ever played Nocturne?
No, I have not.
Nocturne is actually in a fairly decent spot right now. He's always been fairly decent lower elos. He's going to be really good to get you into the habit of looking at lanes to gank, because that's his main focus. Is he just wants to sit. He just basically wants to get as close as possible to any lane that he can get to and just gank the crap out of it. I just sent you the rune page that you should be taking on him. Lethal tempo is a little bit better than Thunderlords, mostly because you're going to ult them, you're going to fear them. Your combo is going to be ult, E, Q. If they have some form of CC or any abilities that they might throw on you when you ult in, you're going to ult W, E, Q. And hit them with the Q so that you can follow them with movement speed, and you're going to be doing faster attack damage. That's what your Q gives you, is movement speed and attack speed. And basically, once you've ulted him and your E goes off, you're going to have lethal tempo, so you're going to have the bonus attack speed from that, so you should be able to just kill him fairly easily. Presence of Mind is going to basically refund your cooldown and your mana. But the main reason you're taking it is because it's going to lower your cooldown of your ultimate, which is going to mean that every time you ult someone and you kill them, you're going to get your ultimate up a lot faster, which is going to mean that you're going to be able to gank a lot more. Alacrity is obviously for the attack speed, and coup de grace is for assassination. The reason you're doing celerity and water walking is for the movement speed. You can, if you want to, take Gathering Storm or Nimbus Cloak. You want to, just for the extra movement speed or the scaling into the late game, because Nocturne does sort of fall off. Later on, he kind of struggles with damage, killing someone before he gets killed later on in the game. But overall, that rune page will be very good for helping you get into the habit of focusing more on early game ganking people and just focusing on ganking whenever you possibly can. Instead of focusing on farming. He also is very good in 1v1s. I wouldn't suggest fighting a Lee Sin early game or a Graves, someone that's just has two damaging abilities, more or less. Mostly because Nocturne's main way that he's going to kill someone is he's going to Q them, which is going to do a decent amount of damage. He's going to E them, which is going to end up fearing them away from him, and then he ends up killing them then. But typically he's going to need to either get the drop on them or be much higher health than them. And if someone has Thunderlords, they have a higher possibility chance of being able to kill Nocturne. Depending on what type of abilities they have. Someone like, you can fight Graves just because you can dodge his Q. But if he lands both his Q on you and an auto, then he has a very high chance of being able to kill you there. As far as the build for Nocturne goes, you would be going Warriors with either the Red Smite or the Blue Smite. And then you would take Duskblade into either Stormrazor or Ghostblade, and then you would build Ghostblade third item if you didn't build it second. And then from there you would go Guardian Angel, Death Dance, sort of more of a damage item build. Instead of Death Dance, if you wanted to, you could, if you were ahead, you could build Ravenous Hydra in order to help you with clearing lanes. And whenever your team's not team fighting, you would be pushing a lane into the enemy team's tower. And then whenever a team fight's about to break out, you would start heading towards their Ghostblade to the mid lane or wherever that team fight's about to break out, and basically ult the squishy so that you can kill the squishy as fast as possible and basically jump into their back line immediately.
Okay. So, concerning the farming on Evelyn, how do I gank P6 exactly? Because I've never really been successful at it. I've only been able to get Pro 6.
As Evelyn, the main objective with Evelyn is you have to wait for the enemy laner to extend. You have to come up behind them. There's no other way that you can actually really get a successful gank off as Evelyn, because the main way you're going to go in on them, unless they're low, if they're fairly low because of your Moby boots, which you should be building Moby boots as fast as possible, you should basically be rushing either red or blue smite and then Moby boots, so that you can just run into lane. You do enough damage with your WE combo. WEQ will do more damage than WQE, but you should be able to just run in and basically end up killing them that way with your Thunderlords. Once you hit 6, you can be looking for lanes where the enemy mid laner is low, because simply all you have to really do is jump in, run up to them with your W, E onto them, and then just basically ult away, and they should be dead if they're low enough. But otherwise, your main objective is going to be to come up behind them, so that way that they have to basically walk to you or past you in order to get away from your charm, which is going to either force them into the river or it's going to force them towards your mid laner.
Okay. So is there anything else you would suggest?
As far as junglers go?
Anything really. Like just general advice, junglers, also grats on Diamond 4.
As far as junglers go, I would say just try to watch if there's an early game jungler on the enemy team, like Graves, Lee Sin, Elise, champions like that are going to do a lot of damage early game and they're trying to snowball. You need to make sure that you're trying to do everything you can to prevent them from getting that snowball. Whether it's sitting, camping a lane before you back to make sure that they don't end up going to that lane, whether it's engaging on them, if you looking for them while they're farming and going and just literally trying to kill them while they're farming to prevent them from getting their camps, to prevent them from getting ahead in experience, to kill them before they get ahead. Any of those things is basically what I would suggest, and just not wasting time, more or less. It looked like, I mean, by the time that you did your red, or you went to your red side, I would have done your raptors as well. I would have placed a ward on your raptors, and by that time I would have been so far ahead in levels, I just would have killed you in your bush as soon as you try to camp to your red. Because you wasted so much time bot side trying to figure out what the Lee Sin was doing, instead of just either backing or just going straight to your wolves, or even just engaging on the Lee Sin with the Annie. Because the Talon wasn't following up with what the Lee Sin was doing. Lee Sin sort of just went by himself to go kill the Annie there. So that's what I would focus more or less on doing, is just not wasting time and just trying to get ganks and prevent the enemy jungler from getting ahead. What I would suggest to you right now.
Okay.
I will leave Discord open for you, so whenever you have any questions or anything like that, if you have any other questions, you can just message me on Discord. If you have any VOD reviews that you want to go into at all, because you feel like something's not working, that your team's just not allowing you to carry them, you feel like maybe you're not pressuring the enemy jungler enough, that something's just not happening that needs to be happening in these games for you to win. Hopefully it doesn't bug splat again. I don't know why I was doing that. I don't know if it's because it's in a sort of an older match, or if it's because I'm doing it off of my account and it's onto your account, or why it's doing that. But we'll look at the game and do a VOD review again for that whenever you get the chance for that. Yeah, I would definitely suggest working on gank pressure, getting vision of the enemy jungler, and just not wasting your time when you're farming in the jungle, so you can stay ahead of the enemy jungler, or at least stay even.
Okay. So takeaways from today are basically gank pressure, know where the jungler is, and kind of act accordingly. Fight if you've got more health, and work.
Yeah, and then just don't just walk around the jungle without farming something or warding.
All right, much appreciated. Thank you for the lesson. I'm gonna call it.
You're welcome. I guess I'll talk to you later. If you have any questions, as I said, you're always free to message me on Discord.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I'll see you later.
See you later. Bye.